आज प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी ऑस्ट्रेलिया रे पहुंचती एवं ऑस्ट्रेलिया रे जो भव्य स्वागत संबर्धना तांको जणा हेची जो सेठी ऑस्ट्रेलिया रे इंडियन कम्युनिटी अच्छी से कम्युनिटी गोटे राउजिंग वेलकम देची। इनफैक्ट आपन देखिए जो नरेंद्र मोदी जो शेड्यूल रे जो जगह जो अराइव कर फॉर एग्जांपल एयरपोर्ट रे होटेल रे स्टाडियम रे जोटी सब अराइव कर सेठी बहुत संख्यार भारतीय कम्युनिटी लोक घंटा घंटा धरी अपेक्षा करते एवं स्टाडियम रे जो आपण देखिथिबे डेफिनेटली लाइव टेलीकास्ट होता स्टाडियम तो पूरा खचाखच भरी होता। इनफैक्ट आपण शुणिथिबे प्राइम मिनिस्टर अल्बनीज ऑस्ट्रेलिया प्राइम मिनिस्टर जी अच्छा से कहते जे आमको टिकेट सर्टेज होची आहरी बड़ वेन्यू रखापी आमको रिक्वेस्ट आसूँ इत्यादि इत्यादि। या किछि दिन पूर्व आपड़ देखिए जितेबले 2 दिन तले जापान जाइए प्रधानमंत्री पहुँची G7 समिट रे अटेंड करने कहीं इंडिया बर्तमान गोटे ऑलमोस्ट परमानेंट इनवाइटी to the G7 countries. As you all know, G7 countries, like that group is considered to be a rich group of industrialized nations, etc., etc. Though of course nowadays the new international economic order has changed. Much bigger countries and much more industrialized nations have come up, like China, like India, Brazil, South Africa, etc., etc. In fact, South Korea also. So therefore, few days ago when in fact few years ago when Donald Trump was the president of America, he in fact proposed that there should be an expanded version of G7 and to make it to G10. G10 that would include India, that would include Australia, that would include South Korea apart from the existing G7 countries, and if possible to add Russia also to make it G11. As you all know that G7 plus 1, once upon a time G8 meetings used to be conducted, but after Crimea was annexed by Russia in 2014, Russia was dropped from the G8 forum. Therefore the name now remains as G7. कथा हूँ जे जो आपण देखिए जितेबाला when Modi arrived in Japan and meetings, scheduled meetings were being conducted, and we saw that Donald Trump came and he was in full praise of Narendra Modi, and he was saying that since you are having a scheduled visit next month to USA, we are getting requests from all quarters, even people whom I don't know, people whom I have never talked to, they are requesting me to lend in the guest list, etc., etc. He was trying to convey the message that Mr. Modi is very much popular in America also. In fact, this kind of thing earlier we have heard from the Italian Prime Minister, the Israeli Prime Minister. In fact, the Israeli Prime Minister told Modi to join his party. I mean, this is to say that Modi, Prime Minister Modi is now a global leader in the true sense of the term. Even in various ratings, you will find the followers, the supporters of Prime Minister Modi are far too higher in number than other world leaders like Biden and all. So बर्तमान जो आपण देखुचंती राउजिंग वेलकम ऑस्ट्रेलिया रे होची। इनफैक्ट आम जेबेठू प्रधानमंत्री मोदी प्रधानमंत्री होती भारत सेबेठू देयर हैज बीन अ न्यू होप, न्यू expectation among the Indians who are not only living in India but also living outside, that this is a new Prime Minister, this is a person, this is a leader who will really bring in the lost glory of India to come back and to restore it, to again revive it, to go for to go for protecting the civilizational values of India, to go for protecting the real the original identity of India. India that stands for a huge cultural civilizational outlook, India that stands for a humanitarian legacy, India that stands for protecting, thinking about the welfare of the whole humanity, India that believes in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, etc., etc. I mean, this is not to say that other prime ministers were not looked at from that point of view. There were very visionary prime ministers we were having in India, like Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee. Of course, Nehru was also a visionary prime minister, and most importantly, Sri P.V. Narasimha Rao, who is credited with bringing the economic reform that India was much needed in 1990s. He was the architect of India's economic reform, etc., etc. बट कथा हूँ जे बर्तमान जो मोदी को मिलूँ भव्य स्वागत संबर्धना एंड ही इज इमेंसली पॉपुलर एज यू सी in last time also when he was addressing a big crowd in Madison Square, the senators were lined up waiting for Mr. Modi. He has visited many countries, Japan, Australia, Germany, Israel, and you will find that he is having a huge fan base everywhere. Not only the Indian community who emotionally connect to Mr. Modi, but also others who are not members of Indian community, who are not Indians. But otherwise, they know about Indian Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, and there are many people who consider Modi as one of the greatest world leaders that humanity has ever produced. Now, the fact is that today the Australian welcome and a day back when he was in Papua New Guinea for the FIPIC meeting, you find that the Prime Minister of Papua New Guinea, James Marape, he welcomed Narendra Modi by touching his feet. It is completely unexpected, it is completely beyond imagination that the head of another state would welcome the head of India by touching his feet. I mean, this shows the kind of respect, the kind of stature he commands. He commands among the world leaders, he commands among various communities who are living in various countries. In fact, he must be given the credit the way he handled the COVID-19 situation, the way he initiated the process of domestic manufacturing, Make in India campaign. He skilled the youth of India. He is going for economic revival, where we have got to achieve the 5th largest economic status in the nominal GDP terms, and we know that the size of the actual size of the GDP is in fact far larger. Apart from that, in purchasing power parity terms, India is third largest country. In the last 8-9 years, excluding these 2 years of COVID-19 pandemic and all, India has done very well, not only in the economic front but also in the diplomatic front. I mean, we removed Article 370, Article 35A. Now you find that Jammu and Kashmir sees a new era of development. Foreign countries are lined up to invest in Jammu and Kashmir. Today we see the tourism working group meeting of G20 nations are being conducted in Srinagar. Srinagar is now a very living place. It is a lively place now. Last year more than 1.5 crore tourists came, including a large number of foreigners. So therefore, why now we try to understand why this craze for Mr. Modi worldwide. 3 things I would like to highlight. First is that the image of India as it used to be, though India has been a nuclear country before Modi came to office. India has been a good, in fact a large size economy before Modi came into office. But the fact is that the way Mr. Modi has handled India's image outside the world, he has fought against political corruption in India. Outside, he has created the image that the traditional way of looking at India, many people used to look at India as a backward country which doesn't have its own identity, which doesn't have this proud feeling about its ancestral civilization kind of thing. Because as we know, we are having various kinds of problems. One is the colonial legacy that we have to face over a period of time, because we have been colonized for long years. So there was an identity crisis. Secondly, in terms of language also, as we all know, that we have adopted English as yet another language in India. Many people love to speak in India, those who know English, those who are able to speak English. In fact, a large number of Indian population after the commencement of social media and all, they are very comfortable in English. People who are living in south, people who are living in north, they are all comfortable, particularly northeast region also, they are very comfortable in English. So language is another issue where India's identity sometimes gets confused, that what is the language of India, because we are a multilingual country, many people are here multilingual. But apart from that, we all know that somewhere in the Indian mind it has been well embedded that if you are speaking English, then probably you are considered to be little more intelligent, little more smart, little more progressive, little more modern kind of thing, which is actually not the case. English is just a language like any other language, and India is having hundreds of languages. Indian constitution in the 8th schedule is having more than 22 languages. So but the very fact is that when Mr. Modi went out, he deliberately spoke in Hindi. Today also you might have heard Mr. Modi addressing the crowd in Hindi. That is what was needed. That is what is the identity that India wanted to showcase. That India stands for its language, India stands for its culture, India stands for its civilizational value, etc., etc. Similarly, if you look at the diplomatic front, you will find that once upon a time we were having non-alignment policy, where as we know, in the Cold War times the world was divided into two blocks. One is the capitalist bloc, the other is the communist bloc, and at that time Nehru devised this policy of non-alignment as to not aligning with any of the blocks kind of thing. But somehow the capitalist bloc saw us tilting more towards the communist bloc, and therefore they continued the kind of hatred would be a very tough word, but at least they continued some kind of grudge against India for being so close to the Soviet bloc. But now you will find that from 2014 onwards, we have tried to develop a strategic autonomy, a foreign policy that stands for the interest of India no matter what is the pressure. I remember when Mr. Bajpayee went for the nuclear test, of course he had to undergo a lot of pressure, but he didn't succumb to the pressure. He went for the test, and thereafter the subsequent sanctions, etc., followed. But India withstood all those things, and finally India was almost, though not in terms of formality, as because we have not signed NPT, we have not signed CTBT. Under UNSC code, we are not a permanent member of UNSC, so we are not a nuclear power in a technical sense. But non-officially, if we look at it, India is a much recognized nuclear power, and that credit goes to, of course, Mr. Bajpayee, the way he handled the entire scenario post Pokhran test. But if you look at today's time, that means 2014 onwards, you will find that on almost every issue, India has tried to withstand all the pressure that are put over India with regard to many issues. Very recently, we saw the Ukraine-Russia crisis, the war which is still going on. But the fact that Russia was sanctioned, we were told not to buy Russian oil from India should not buy Russian oil, etc. But we stood that pressure. We decided that this is simply an economic activity. Our consumers, with a 1.4 billion people, our consumers need cheap oil, and therefore it is a purely economic issue where India as a consumer looks forward to the world market to buy the cheaper oil wherever it is available. It doesn't matter whether it comes from Russia, it doesn't matter whether it comes from Ukraine, etc. So when India was only having 1% of oil import from Russia out of its total import basket, now we are almost importing more than 20% of oil of our total import basket. So this is an analogy which definitely showcases that India is not coming under any pressure at all. Very recently, our Foreign Minister Dr. Jaishankar gave befitting replies to these kind of bizarre questions that used to come on his way with regard to India's relationship with Russia kind of thing. Now USA tried it, USA failed. We also bought S-400 defense missile system from Russia. For the same reason, USA imposed sanctions on Turkey, but USA could not impose sanctions on India. India is a part of Shanghai Cooperation Organizations, where India, China, Russia are very important members in that body. At the same time, India is also a part of the Quad group, where USA, Australia, China and India are the members. So diametrically opposite ideological groupings that we are having, yet India is very comfortable in all kinds of groups. So India has decided to have a autonomous ideological stand with regard to many issues that the world is facing right now, and for that reason you will find that all this credit should go to Team Modi, and particularly Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi. So therefore today what you see with regard to the popularity of Narendra Modi, it comes out of the fact, or comes out of the realization that here is a person, here is a leader who basically keeps the interest of India in mind, and is very clear, is very clear with regard to his vision, with regard to his understanding of world politics, with regard to his understanding of international affairs, with regard to his understanding of international relationship, and he has established India almost a kind of Vishwaguru. So the hope that Indians are having, who are living in India, that 1.3, 1.4 billion people who are living in India, they have a hope vis-a-vis Modi. They have a hope, they have an expectation, they have some dream with regard to Mr. Modi. Similarly, people who are living outside the country, they realize, in fact, some of definitely they are much better educated, their income capacity is much higher. Therefore, I presume that they are having a much better understanding of international relation and India's position in it. So therefore, they probably better understand that here is a leader who probably is the fittest person to be in the office of Prime Minister, who takes the right kind of decisions, who takes the risk also at times on diplomatic front, on economic front kind of thing. We have seen demonetization, we have seen other important political decisions he has taken, like banning triple talaq, etc., etc. Now there is a discussion of introducing uniform civil code, etc., etc. So now he is having a tough image, he is having a credibility that stands apart. He carries a personality that shines, and therefore the people who are emotionally connected to India, they reasonably feel that Modi is definitely going to give India a much better position in the coming days, and they hope that India will again re-establish, reposition its status, and India will achieve its position in the international arena in a much better manner. I hope we are able to discuss a certain thing. I mean, actually I started with Odia, but then as we know, things come out in English. I mean, I am more comfortable in teaching in English. So, but I assure you that over a period of time I will definitely make some of the videos in Oriya. So I request you, all of you, to subscribe to this channel, and definitely press the bell icon so that you will get the notification as and when we upload new videos. Thank you so much.